Have you ever been in a situation where a client says to you, I'll think about it, it's too expensive, I don't know if it works for me, we'll get back to you, even after giving what you thought was a incredible presentation on your product or service, and you just feel defeated, you feel stressed out, it's not a fun experience because you put all this effort into working on your product or service, you want to create more value, you genuinely can help them, but unfortunately they still just don't get it. It doesn't click in their mind. Nobody wants to be in this scenario. And if you want to fix that, I'm going to teach you how to do sales on easy mode, how you can sell literally anything. And this works especially well if you're selling something like a high ticket item or a reoccurring subscription. It does work for low ticket items, but it's much more effective if you're really trying to sell something that's typically over about $1,000. And this is literally how to skip all of that. No BS, no hacks, no secrets, no gotchas. That is why I make videos like these, because it is all about the fundamentals, which if you don't know who I am, my name is Alexander. I work one-on-one with business owners to help them achieve more profitability, to make their lives easier, to make their business simpler to run by actually changing how they do their sales, operations, and marketing. Because at the end of the day, if you fix the problem at its root, if your product or service is good enough, it's a no-brainer. You just got to get it to more people. And unfortunately, a lot of people stumble on the sales part, because if they fix their sales problem, everything else comes into place. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Once you actually start to market it, you just need to sell something that is valuable to them. And that is why value mapping, this is really important, because it skips all of that. And it gets just to the part where they understand what it's going to do for them and how you can guide them through that journey. It makes sales so much easier, so you don't have to stress about doing the right things. There's no sales script that's going to totally change everything. It is all about the fundamentals, and that's why value mapping is so important. So if you stick around till the end of the video as well, I will give you a full cheat sheet on the questions that we're going to be talking about inside of this, so that when you do your value mapping, you don't even have to map out your original precursor to what you're going to be figuring out, how to ask, what to ask, when to ask it. You can literally just follow this cheat sheet. It'll guide you through the whole journey on what you need to do to make the sales easier. So let's go ahead and begin here. When you get into a sales call, discovery call, Zoom call, in person, what have you, typically you're trying to focus on just closing the deal. You focus on your product or service, you focus on your offer, you focus on your customer's needs, and you're really trying to hone in on exactly what that is so that you can align what you do with what they want. But realistically, I want you to take this as a thought exercise. Let's say that you sold weight loss, and you had a gym, and you had 3 customers that came into your gym: a parent and their child, Grandma Joe, and then a big shot tech CEO for some software founding startup, whatever, in San Francisco. So each one of these people come into your gym and they say that they probably have some variation of a problem. They want to lose weight, they want to feel better, they want to be stronger, they want to be faster. But ultimately, it boils down to 3 things that with these people are going to be pretty much fundamentally the same. It's going to be their health, it's going to be the way they feel about it mentally and physically, and it's also going to be how can they get to that journey with less stress, because they can watch a YouTube video on how to do it, they can count their calories, they can do a nutritional guide online, but they're looking for something more. So if you were to sell your weight loss program to this parent and child, to Grandma Joe here, and to Mr. Tech Bro CEO, what language would you use? You would really start to sell whatever it is ultimately that you think that they want from a very broad strokes perspective. Now, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, each one of them probably wants a very similar thing, and they just need somebody to guide them through that journey. But the kid, in this case, the child with the parent, she's probably, or he's probably saying, I want my kid to stop messing around on his Nintendo Switch and actually get fit. You know, he's getting chubby, something like that. I just need him to get out of the house. Grandma Joe says, I want to play with my grandkids. I just want to not feel like I'm in pain all the time. I just sit on the couch and watch Wheel of Fortune all the time. I just want to feel good. I want to know something that I can do to help myself stay in shape as I grow older. And then Tech Bro CEO, he's working from home. He's sitting in a chair just like this. He's scrunched over all the time. His back hurts. He's sore. They all want the same thing that can likely be solved by the exact same service. But here is the first part of your weight loss program, which is ultimately you need to get them from that painful point to the solution. So they start here in pain and they go to the solution, and your program sits in the middle here, and then this is their dream. They want to be on the other side. But this is the problem with your sales, and this is what value mapping solves. What language would you use that's different? How would you know? Does the tech bro want six-pack abs? Does Grandma Joe want to be an Olympic athlete? Does that kid, is he going to train to be the next Usain Bolt or something like that? The only way to know is to start with the first step. Ask and learn. So before you even start selling the thing, you need to stop and ask yourself, what is it they're looking for? And you can boil these down into a couple different questions. But what this does is this is going to be the data that you're going to integrate into your sales later when you actually want to open up your offer. But ask them a couple different things. The pain and the why. What brought you in today? What made you book this call? What were you looking to go through? What is the thing that you're trying to solve? What is the issue here? Why did you reach out to me today? Just ask them point blank, because they probably have a preconceived notion or an idea of what it is they're looking to solve, and you need to understand that from the get-go to see if your thing can A, actually solve it, and B, aligns with that likelihood of success. Because they might call you, like let's say you're selling marketing services, and say, hey, I need more ads. I need more people to come into my store. And then all of a sudden you look at their product and you're like, I don't really know what this thing is. It's not very good sound business model. So you need to ask why they're actually joining the conversation today, because then you can actually A, understand if your thing can even solve what they're looking for, and B, what is the likelihood that that thing will actually solve what they're looking for, and to what degree do you need to put in that effort. By that I mean, let's say you're selling weight loss services and all three of them say the same thing, which is highly unlikely because they're going to have different flavors of success, but you might be able to channel that success in exactly the same workout program. Let's say you're selling marketing services and some person says, I want an extra 1,000 a month, I want an extra 10,000 a month, and I want an extra 25,000 a month. Fundamentally, those are probably very similar services, but a slightly different, exaggerated version of them. So just ask, what is it that brought you in here today? Into my store, into my call, into my thing? Literally just break it down so you understand what it is. And then once you have the pain, you can ask why. Why do you think this will solve it? Why did you pick this service or product in particular? Why did you, gravitate towards this thing? And you'll start to really piece together what it is that ultimately drew them towards your website, your store, and what they were hoping to achieve. And then all you need to do is ask the next question, which is, what is the dream? So now that you understand the pain, which is the first question you should ask them, you need to understand what the dream is. Where do they want to be? What are they looking for on the other end? And this does a couple different things that are really important. The first one being that it probably sets the bar a lot lower than you think it is. People, when they actually ask this question, you might be trying to sell, $1 million program that's going to make somebody riches, and they might just say, I just want to make 10,000 a month. I just want to make at least six figures a year, and that's enough for me. And you're over here trying to say, nah, we're going to do all this work, we're going to do all these ads, we're going to do all this business consulting, we're going to do all this program, and you're going to be a millionaire. That opens up a whole new wave of problems. That stresses them out. They don't want to do that. And then not only that, but if the bar is lower, then you can still anchor your likelihood of success to it, and you can understand where they're going and how you're able to achieve it by simply breaking it down. You might find that it's like much easier than they actually think. Then what you want to do is, once you have the dream, ask them how long. Because this is going to quantify how big of a pain this is in their life. Do you want to solve this week? Do you want to solve this today? Do you want to solve this 6 months? Do you want to solve this 6 years down the line? If it's background noise for them, then you're probably trying to just sell something that ultimately maybe a happenstance. You're there at the right time. They might be looking to throw money on it. It's not a big deal. They're not ready. The pain is not big enough because they're looking to solve it 10 years down the line, and you realize that you can solve it a year. And then if they say something that is just completely out of the realm of possibility, you also do need to clarify why they think that. They might say to themselves that, hey, I want this to be solved in 10 years because I think it takes 10 years to solve it. So clarify why they pick that time chunk as well, so that you can get a better understanding of why they're actually looking for that duration. You might be able to solve the thing in a week, and they think it takes 10 years, and you can all of a sudden be the savior that comes out and says, I can get this to you in just 7 days. Then once you understand how long, you want to start to understand the what if. And that means you're putting them in the hot seat. You need to ask them, hey, let's say that you want to solve this thing in 5 months. In those 5 months, if you don't solve that thing, what will happen in your life? If you're selling weight loss, you're going to feel lethargic and tired, and you're going to feel beat, and you're just going to want to sit and be a couch potato, and it's just going to get worse over 5 months. If you're selling lead gen for marketing, you might have to close your business in 5 months. You might run out of money. You might just struggle to survive and pay the bills. If you're selling something, understand that they have probably not done that self-reflection, and you need to hold up a mirror back to them and literally say, hey, if this thing isn't fixed, how long can this continue before something bad happens? And if it does happen in that duration, what do you think will happen? Just ask them point blank. They'll start to create the scenario and the conversation in their head, because now you have all of these sectors starting to be mapped out. This is why we do the value mapping. We get this data beforehand. And then ultimately, the last thing you're going to want to do, now that you understand the pain, you understand the dream, you understand how long it's going to take, and you understand what if it keeps continuing, you just need to echo that back. And it's really important. It sounds like it might be very rudimentary or basic to do this, but literally parrot this whole thing back at them like a Mad Libs game. It sounds like you came here for X, Y, and Z. You're really struggling with A, B, C, and you just want to get to the part where you're doing 1, 2, 3. And you're really trying to get there, and it sounds like about a week. So if I could fix that, now you're transitioning into the offer, but make sure you echo it so that you're both on the same page. Okay, this is important because you might echo it back to them and they say, that sounds crazy. I didn't say that, which hopefully if you've asked the questions correctly, they understand that. But sometimes you still echo it back to them. And then once they hear it back, they say, nah, I don't even need that. I don't want that. Or they might even say like, that's not enough. And then that's your opportunity to really just ramp this up. So to recap, we've started with asking and learning as our first step. You're getting the information. This is like your game of Mad Libs where you pick your noun, your verb, your adjective, all that. Get each one of these points. And if they go off on tangents, or if you have a scenario where you need to elaborate even more, don't be afraid to ask more questions. Very few people ask the right questions. If you're asking these, you're ahead of 90% of anybody who's trying to sell them a similar thing, because chances are they have never thought about these. And once you're doing that, this little mini therapy session, then you can really, really move on to the next step. After we've asked these questions, after we've ingested all this data, after we've written it down, hopefully in a document or your notes or somewhere, we can move on to number 2, which is going to be transition. So now that you've echoed into that, you now need to start to fill in the blanks like your offer is going to start basically compounding that. You're anchoring the value that you're creating inside of your offer directly. The chances are that your offer can solve this, if you have done the research, is extremely high. And if you don't have an offer, when you don't even have your dream customer, click on the link in the description, because you need to niche down. You need to find your dream customer before you even can get an offer. The offer is going to be based on that particular customer. If you don't have one customer avatar at least, it's largely a guessing game. And you're trying to sell everything to everybody. You're never going to get that far. So follow the link in the description if you don't have a customer avatar yet. But in the transition phase, what you're doing is literally peppering in your offer. You're taking components of what you sell. So let's say I help customer do thing. So that's your outcome. Using process. So they get outcome. If you can formulate a basic offer in this structure, all you need to do is to pepper in the data that you learned from the first portion into that offer now. So if, for instance, you were selling something like marketing, you're going to run Facebook ads, for instance, and they say, you know, I just want 10 more leads a month. I'm struggling. I need to get 10 more people in the door so I can keep my business alive. Well, I actually help businesses get more leads, and I do it in about a week, which is what you want. You said you wanted to get 10 more leads, correct? Perfect, because my system, I actually have a system which is called the Facebook Lead Accelerator. It takes about a week. It guarantees you 10 leads without any extra work from you so that you can start to focus on working on the business instead of in the business and stressing about where you're going to get your next client. All you need to do is to anchor this outcome. So take this as your golden goose, this anchor that you're selling right now. This is your value. And it is not your value, but is the value you can provide based on their value. That means that everything should culminate to this here. They've told you what they want. They've told you what they want to achieve. They told you how long they want to achieve it. They've told you how fast, what version of that looks like. All you need to do is literally use that as your value, as your fallback. Just clarify, hey, you know, it sounds like you want to get this thing. It sounds like you want to do it in this amount of time. I have an offer that I can help you get to that thing in this amount of time. That is still correct. That's what you want to do, right? Perfect. Then all of a sudden, this psychologically in the back of their mind, they're knowing that the product or service is getting them to that dream outcome. This value is the dream they want. You're not selling them on something that they imagined or that you imagined in your mind. They literally told you, I want that thing. And you're just tying your offer, all of this at the top, funneling it straight into that dream. And it's once you actually get into that transition point, you need to start to understand that hopefully once you have that data, there are going to be some objections. And we'll get to that in the third step. But before we do that, let's recap. Your transition point is your opportunity to take everything they've told you and start to pepper those into your offer, start to echo it back to them, start to relate your offer towards that desired outcome. You're basically intertwining the two so that they are associating in their mind you're able to get that result based on this exchange of time, of monetary value, of just some sort of sacrifice on their end. How much do you want to pay to make this problem go away? And what that does in the back of their mind is now you're skyrocketing the value of the thing you're selling because ultimately you're tying it to the thing that they ultimately want. That is the whole point of this transitionary piece. So focus on peppering in their value into your offer. That is the second step. The third thing you're going to want to do, and this is the part where you start to reach the objections. And the objection stage is often the hardest one. You need to be a myth buster. Now, once they've been presented with the value, the offer, how it relates to them, the outcome, your next step is to literally just ask, what are any objections to you solving this problem, to you paying to make this go away? What are your objections? What are your what ifs? What are anything like that? Whatever flavor you want to use, but ask them point blank, now that you know what I can do, now that you know how much it is, now that you know it will fix your problem, what are your objections to paying to make this problem go away? And they're probably going to use some standard variation of a what if statement. What if the thing doesn't work for me? What if I stray from the path? What if I make a mistake? What if I don't do this? What if I all of a sudden want to quit halfway through the program? You need to do 3 key things during your Mythbuster phase. The first one is prove it. The best things in the world are proof. If you can show that you've done the thing, if you can show above all else that you have done it and nobody else has done it, anybody can say they're good. Anybody can say they're fast. Anybody can say they have the best product or service in the world. But above all else, prove it. If you have testimonials, or if you have social proof, reviews, people saying that this thing did the thing, if you have actual quantifiable data, they increased their revenue by X amount, they got X amount of customers, their conversion rate went up, the amount of leads that came in went up, literally just parrot those back. Take your Yelp reviews, screenshot them, take your Google Maps reviews, screenshot them, take your Facebook reviews, screenshot them, print them out, put them on your wall if you need to see them visually. Don't just say like, here's a little text snippet, actually put those somewhere out there, make them impactful. Screenshots go so much farther. If bare minimum you have reviews, please show those reviews visually. If you have social proof of other people saying that this thing is great, testimonials are even better, where they're standing in front of a camera and saying, you gotta buy this thing, it's so great, it helped me fix whatever thing that you sell. That's fantastic. And then above all, if you have data, quantifiable metrics that show that, hey, they went from here to here and here's the actual numbers that prove it, you're golden. But let's say, for instance, you're starting small. You just started this business, or maybe you're early on, you don't have proof, which before we even reach that, I guarantee you that you probably have proof, you just don't realize it, or you're not asking for it. And if you're struggling with that, let's say you've been in business for at least a year or two, go back to your top clients, ask them for a video testimonial, and please ask them for a referral if you did a good job as well. But bare minimum, say, hey, I'm gonna come out, I'll get my phone. All I need you to do is to tell me this thing did a great job. And hopefully it's authentic. Do not force them into a corner where they're giving you a testimonial that's fake, but get reviews. Go ask them for reviews. So many business owners struggle with asking their customers, can you leave me a 5-star on Google? Can I get a video testimonial? Can you give me a referral? Can you give me a little Yelp review? Can you give me a little XYZ? Do you mind if I use you as a case study? Something like that. Just ask. They'll probably give it to you if your thing is good enough. But let's move on to B, which is going to be, you're basically playing a game of whack-a-mole now. And the whack-a-mole mentality is basically, well, let's say that you don't have proof of the thing. You need to break it down into a step-by-step format that makes it digestible. Because on one end, they see pain, and on the other end, they see a dream. But this part, they're kind of like, how does it work? What does it do? How long does it take? Break it down. Milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. And anchor each one of these to a little bit of their problem at the end of the day. Because what you can do is, let's say you break it down into milestone 1. You know what? We'll do weight loss. Milestone 1, we're gonna get you on a nutrition guide. You don't have to change anything about your dietary habits if you're doing work, vacation, or if you're just doing it at the office. This nutrition guide works anywhere. And that's gonna help you get on the right path to losing that weight. And then milestone 2, we're gonna get you on a workout regimen. You don't even have to guess what moves you're gonna take. You don't have to guess the routine. We're gonna give it to you. It works anywhere. We're gonna even give you the equipment list, and this will help you get to that better physical health. Not just the weight loss, but the physical and mental health of it. And then milestone 3, we're gonna finally do the weigh-in, where we're actually gonna see the result come to life. You're gonna be able to get a little achievement at the end. This will show that you've achieved that weight loss, that you have a better body, you feel better about yourself, all of that. Because now what you've just done is blocked this whole thing out into a digestible chunk. Because so many people will try and sell you the world, they'll try and sell you this thing, how it can change your life. And if it really can, just tell them how you're gonna do it. Walk them through step by step and actually make it digestible. It's like a game of whack-a-mole. All you need to do is myth 1, myth 2, myth 3, myth 4, myth 5. This thing can work for you. This works even if you don't have proof, because hopefully the thing that you can actually do, if you are delivering on those results, all you need to do is to present it to them. And then finally, you want to hold up a mirror to them. And the mirror method is going to be your saving grace. The mirror method is now you're holding up the offer to them. You literally, this is your client. This is you holding up that mirror. Not the best artist, but you get the point. They can see themselves in it. And you need to quantify that whole thing that you just said back to them. Why could you see yourself not working with this program and losing 10 pounds in 30 days? And they're going to probably have those remaining statements in there. But what you're doing, again, is basically a variation of that echo. You're taking it back on them and you're showing it to them. When you do the mirror, just ask them, if all of a sudden you've shown proof, you've broken it down into milestones, you've done every single version of that, take the whole offer again, regurgitate it, and ask them at the very end, is there any other objection that you have to this? Why do you not feel like this program will work for you? What is the missing link here? Because at this late stage in the game, all you'll need to do is just go back to the process before, which is the game of myth whack-a-mole. But you need to directly ask them, because in the second stage, all you were doing is just breaking it down. You're breaking it down and relating it to them. You might not have hit the right words. You might not have hit the high points. You might not have used the language that triggered that little dopamine hit in their head. So you need to actually ask them, hey, this is the offer. This is my offer. It gets you. And then the whole chunk of the thing, the time, the sacrifice, the guarantee, all of those little pieces of your offer that you talked about, the ifs, the pain that solves, the solution that you're going to bring to the table, regurgitate the whole thing and ask them again until they basically have no reason to just question the whole thing. You need to get to the point where they don't have any objections, to the point where they say, I don't know. I don't have any more questions. It sounds like your program could do the thing I want. You want to get to the point, ultimately, to the goal where it's literally just, how much do you want to pay to make this problem go away? And that also assumes that you are able to make that problem go away. But the third one is, to recap, just use proof, which could basically be numbers. Quantifiable one could be testimonials, could be outcomes that you've created, could be reviews, could be case studies, could be any version of you showing that you've done this thing in the real world. And if you haven't gotten that far, then that's fine. You can move on to number 2, which is your game of whack-a-mole. Whack-a-mole. So you are standing here, and they have all these little conversations in the back of their head where it's like, oh, I'm not good enough. I struggle with XYZ. I struggle with ABC. These little moles that are coming up and popping up, and they're creeping, and they're telling me, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to go through that whole process. I'm not going to be able to break it down, make it transparent, make it so simple that, hey, we're going to start you here. Here's how we're going to do it. Milestone 2. Here's what's going to happen next. Milestone 3. And you know what? I know you were concerned about that other thing. Milestone 4. And not only that, if you're still concerned about it, I guarantee you that we'll keep doing the process until you reach dream. Because they don't understand what you do. They're not in your industry. They don't understand the jargon that you use. They don't understand how you're going to do the process. They just want to know how to get to the other end of the rainbow. You need to be able to help them to understand that, educate them on the process. And then finally, the third thing, mirror it. Recap the whole thing. The offer, the actual process, the pain, solution, time, value, everything. And then end with the question, just why or how or what, whatever variation you want to use, but just make sure that they understand at the end of when you've recapped it, why don't you think this program will work for you? What are your objections to starting this? What are some ways we can get you on board? What do you still feel like this won't work for you? And it might be something small. It might just be as simple as like, I can't afford it right now. Oh, perfect. We have a buy now, pay later option. Oh man, well, I'm actually thinking of moving across country. Well, actually this program works wherever you are. I'm not really good at marketing. Oh, that's perfect. You don't need to be for this program. Then start whack-a-mole again. So to recap, start to show proof, everything you can do. Start to break down the process. Start to hold up a mirror to them and ask them point blank. Again, put them on the spotlight, ask why they don't think it'll work for them, and then reiterate the same thing if they have remaining questions until they have no remaining objections, and ultimately they are just the last portion of this piece. Don't focus on closing the deal. Don't focus on just trying to pressure them. Don't try to focus on being something that you're not. If it's not a good fit, then you should understand that from the first statement. I bring this up because so many people try and just sell to everybody and they think that this technique is ultimately going to fix whatever is broken in their business. But if you have a broken business model, if you have a broken sales model, if you have a broken value model, if you're just not doing something that is perceived as valuable, if it's not very good, then you have bigger problems. Don't try and sell something to everybody if you can't get those results, because this goes both ways. If you're anchoring that outcome to somebody's life and this is what they want, and this is you trying to hold that little anchor of value up to them, and you've mapped the whole journey out. You're the guide that's going to lead them on this expedition, and you cannot deliver on this result, then now they hold that result to you even harder. This goes both ways. If you cannot deliver on this thing, then you're just going to get a bunch of grumpy customers who are like, well, it sounded like you were able to get me X, Y, and Z, but you didn't do the thing. So don't just overpromise. Always remember that you have to be able to at least deliver on the things that you promise. It's very important. It sounds basic, but so many people try and struggle with this. And don't get into that scenario where you just like slap a guarantee on it or say that you're going to get this thing, and then not only can you not deliver on this thing, but you just have a grumpy customer who's going to leave you a bad review. By the way, if all of this is too confusing, which I can get because I'm a visual learner, I get it, I need examples, I need to see how it works with my business, you can actually just click the link below and we'll do a one-on-one call. I'll just break the whole thing down for you. I'll give you the specific instructions that you need to just grow your business to get to that six-figure mark, or to increase your revenue, or whatever that version of winning looks like for you, specifically for your service or product. So just go ahead and click that link below if you want to book the one-on-one call, or even if you just want to DM me on Facebook. I promised you a bonus at the end of this video. So when it comes to that fourth bonus, what questions should I be asking? What questions should I be asking is almost always the scenario that people get into. What are the right questions? Well, I'm going to give you a little preview. The right questions are literally broad strokes, straight to the core. They're fundamental because they are the thing that psychologically will actually help people see what is wrong with their business. All you're doing is holding up a light to the things that they probably already know subconsciously in the back of their head, but that they don't actually connect the dots between, hey, this is what's broken and this is what I need to fix. So the question list, when you actually download it, it's going to be a guide. It's going to be a little document that's going to have all of my favorite questions that I have condensed doing value mapping since the dawn of time. And every single one of these is a proven, surefire way to get the right questions, the right data, short, concise, easy, and powerful. All you have to do is click below in that Google Doc, and you can instantly grab all of those questions for free. So don't have to stress about what you're going to ask and why it matters. But as always, if you have additional questions that might come up, do ask them as well. If there's something specific you want to know about, it never hurts to ask. The more data you can have, the more better, the more empathetic you are, the more understanding you are of what their needs. So that's all I have for you today. Until then, I'll see you next time. And always remember, you got this, you can do it, you can succeed as a business owner. I'll see you later.